So then you get productions who are largely underfunded, under budgeted, and our producers try their best to make it work, you know, which means you're probably going to get paid in proportion to what the budget is.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a terrible stigma around that um, producers underpay people. I might put my head on the chopping block here, or that producers eat money and this and this. No, the ecosystem is not that strong. You know, it's not that strong. There isn't that much money anyway. Artists were never supposed to be famous.
Hmm.
I'm never supposed to be famous. I was never supposed to be famous. I'm a piece of shit. you know, like I'm not the cool guy.
If you're new here, I don't know where you've been because you've been missing out. The rest of the community, the rest of the engineers have been enjoying Engineer Your Life, our growth conversations, our impactful stories, and all the great, great interviews that we've been having here. But welcome. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like this episode. And I know you clicked on this because you saw who I'm chatting to today. So I won't waste any more of your time. This man has the ability to play twins when he feels like it, and he does it in such a meticulous manner. You lose track of the fact that this is the same person playing two characters in one because of the contrast in the characters and their personality traits and just the ability to execute. Mr. Bonko Khoza, are you well, sir?
I'm good, Lungelo. How are you, man?
I'm fantastic. We don't just ask if you are here. We actually want to know, how's your heart today?
Yeah, my heart is good. I've been doing a lot of inner work with myself.
Mm-hmm.
My understanding of the heart and what the heart is in relation to God, and what's the heart's function in terms of, I would say, lubricating or cleaning out the funnel between myself and God.
Sure.
And what I've come to learn right now as I'm speaking to you, that it's gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
Gratitude as a form of prayer. I used to pray and ask for things a lot. And in this journey now, I'm learning to just make prayer more about gratitude.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because it's validation of the present.
Mm-hmm.
And what I'm learning to understand, that faith, they say faith is I might paraphrase here, but faith is the
Substance.
no, faith is the confirming of something that's not,
I hear you.
that doesn't exist yet, right? It's the validation of the existence of something that
Sure.
to the eye doesn't exist yet,
Mm-hmm.
but affirming it as if it already does.
Yeah.
So I'm grateful for the things that I don't have yet,
Mm-hmm.
or for the places I haven't been yet, or the things I'm yet to accomplish, but grateful in a way as if I've already accomplished them. And the present moment, I've been meditating a lot. I'm on a good streak now. I used to be quite an avid meditator, and used to practice yoga and all these things, and life got so busy. So my heart's in a place now where it's reacquaint with meditation, silence, stillness. So it's in a good place.
Would you say you are meditating, seeking silence a lot? Because by the nature of the work that you've done and the doors that God has opened in the last few years, is that you're so much in the noise.
Yeah, I mean, not completely, but that it helps in that regard. It does help silence silence what personally would to me would be like the shame of the past or the anxiety of the future. It kind of blocks all of that out and brings me into like a place of like presence of like who I am, what I am, what's in my pocket right now. Like this is all really I am. And then I can begin my gratitude from what is around me, what I do have and what is tangible in the one sense. But in another sense, it's the present moment helps me remind me who I am. You know, it reminds me of like the voice that speaks in my head.
Sure.
You know, I mean, I think we're saying the same things. It does
Yeah.
help us block out
Yeah, yeah.
the noise, but I don't do it to block out the noise. I do it to connect with myself, with my spirit, with my higher self, with God. You know, with the center, the core. You know.
Why is gratitude different to prayers where we are asking God for things or for breakthroughs or for peace? Because somebody out there is in need of the breakthrough, is in need of the peace, is in need of the love. They are feeling lonely. They don't have a marriage that they perceive as an amazing marriage like you do. And they're saying, Bonko is speaking from a place of privilege. He's
Sure,
saying
hon.
we must all have gratitude and live in this zen of gratitude. Meanwhile, it's because he has acquired, he has crossed the line. So why must I have gratitude when I feel like I still want to cross the line?
To whom much is given, much is expected.
Sure.
If you can't handle what you already have, what evidence is there that you can handle what you want? And because I'm Bonko now that you know and can Google, you don't know the life that I lived. You know, you don't know where I came from and what I had to go through to arrive at this point, right? So, yeah, the marriage was once a relationship. There was once a time I didn't know my wife, you know. There was a time where we fought. There was a time where we broke up and we were mad at each other. There's a lot of, there's a bigger story than the story that everyone sees now. And I say that with everyone,
Yeah, yeah,
right? We all have stories before whatever particular audience meets you at whatever particular time. But gratitude has worked for me it gives you a sense of joy. It gives you a sense of appreciation for what God has already done. It's easy to ask Him to do more, but it's very important to thank Him for what He's already done. And once you start like listing or finding out and just seeing what has He already done. Biggest one, I'm alive. I see the hunger. I see the ambition. You're alive. I'll go second to say, I'm of healthy mind, right? I can walk, I can talk, I can comprehend, I can communicate ideas. Secondly,
yeah.
I've got a roof over me.
Sure.
I've got friends. I've got both my parents. Yes, our things will all vary. You know, I might list things that someone else doesn't have, or and vice versa.
Yeah.
But I'm listing things that are is big in army. Yeah, I'm listing the things. That's what I'm saying. The present moment really helps you calibrate your existence in this place to say, who are you? Who are you? I think the biggest question we should always ask ourselves is, who am I, right? And right now, I'm a guy sitting next to Lungelo,
Having a chat.
having a chat.
Yeah.
There's nothing more to me right now.
Sure.
Like, and they shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Because this, in this moment, with everyone in this room, is the total sum of my existence in this moment.
Yeah.
And I'm happy. And like, you know, sometimes like I'm happy to be here, but I really do mean it. Like, I'm happy to still be part of the game. Because outside of this, we don't know, right? We don't know what happens. Especially in Africa, we have so many ideas. And as Christians, we have so many ideas of what's supposed to happen after this. But it's always after this and not in this.
Sure.
And while I'm in this, I'm like, yo, this is nice.
Yeah, and let's make the most out of it.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you, God of your own understanding.
Sure.
You know, and I'm learning to understand God in a much more mature way than I used to, or I think.
You chose to?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. You know, love is not always nice. You know, love is work, I believe. It takes effort to love someone or something because nothing is perfect. So if you choose to love, especially unconditionally, it's so weird when people say, love unconditionally. Like, love by its nature does not have conditions, so it doesn't need the adjective. You know what I mean? It's a double whammy. You don't need to put unconditional next to the word love, because love is one thing. Love is it's an act. You know what I mean? Like it's an action. It's a verb on its own. Unconditional is the object that we then impose our love on. That's what's unconditional.
Okay.
I'm unconditional. I'm not this guy every day. Sometimes I'm happy, sometimes I'm mad, sometimes I'm angry, sometimes I'm excited, sometimes I'm flawed, sometimes I do good, sometimes I do bad. Right? Maybe the term should be to love the unconditional. Not that love doesn't have conditions. So when I say to God that I love him, and once I understood how much he loved me, in my flawedness, or in my perfection,
Yeah.
that made me think, well, he must know me really well, because he knows me when I'm down, he knows me when I'm up, he knows me when I'm a piece of shit, he knows me when I'm being a good guy, which doesn't even mean like I'm changing. That's just me, right? That's just the nature of a human being. We're all contradictions. So he loves me as a contradiction. So how do I reciprocate this love? Is that I try to get to know him better, right? And I try to get to know him in all his forms. And I think religion is everyone's understanding of God is valid, because God cannot be limited to one language,
Culture,
form. You know, I grew up Catholic. You know, my family's Catholic, and that was my entry point into God. But when I grew up really crazy, you know, I took corners in weird places.
Yeah.
Some like Eastern, whether philosophies, mysticisms, but which all still kind of pointed me back to the center of like the one, the creator, you know, perhaps in a different language, perhaps through a different method or whatever, but it all points back to something that's more than you, you know. Some will call it energy, you know. Some will call it the universe, whether it's Allah or God. There's someone that is more than us, that is in control of what's happening here. and gave us a chance to participate in this thing called Waking Life.
Take me back to the rest of us in South Africa. Were having the 2010 World Cup. Excited, it's a buzz. We are jiving, senza yonke into. That's 15 years ago for us right now.
Right.
And I can assure you, from the little that I know, your life has changed a lot
Yeah.
since then. 2010 Bonko. How old is he? What is he doing? And what are his thoughts? Where is he mentally in his life?
2010, I've just, I finished matric the year before. So it's like my first year out of school.
Yeah. In the big world.
In the big world. I've got these long-ass dreadlocks. Yeah, I wanted to be an artist. I wanted to be a painter, a visual artist. And World Cup was a bit of a buzz, yeah. Like most kids, I say most kids, and I think it is most kids. Like most kids, I didn't sign up for a school yet. Like everyone that's in school right now, like are really like top tier society people. Or either, you know, their parents force them, like most parents force kids.
Yeah.
You know, but I just left NSA. And I kind of didn't have a plan, or I was just lazy, maybe smoked too much weed, I don't know. But like I was very late to like apply for schools. And then I got accepted into this thing called the Vega Imagination Lab, which is like a little branch of Vega like design academy, design school. So it's like a CBC, like a corporate brand communication,
Sure.
mashed up with a whole bunch of other things and multimedia skills. And I was doing that for most of the time, right?
Did you enjoy it?
Yeah. I was enjoying life more than... Look, so I went to an art school. So for me, there was nothing new. You know, most kids from art school, I think from our generation and the generation before that, were quite advanced. You know, I'm talking about like Photoshop, art theory, design theory. It was quite advanced. So that first year was a little frustrating for me because I'm like, I know all this shit, you know. I know all this stuff. So I spent most of my time doing my own thing.
Yeah.
You know.
To your detriment or to your advantage?
Well, dude, look, in retrospect, everything is to an advantage.
Okay.
As long as you're still alive, whatever story you have, sell it.
Yeah,
Because you made it.
Yeah.
But at that point, it was definitely to my... I'm sorry, dude. Like, my heart's changed. I don't think negatively anymore. Like, everything that's supposed to happen is supposed to happen. Everything that hasn't happened is probably not supposed to happen yet. So I was young. I worked at a bar. You know, worked at a nightclub bar. I was in a band with my boy Sinks, who were called the Blindfolders. We'd party, just go crazy, and after I graduated, it was kind of like a 1-year bridge course into the normal Vega.
Yeah.
And then normal Vega is like really expensive.
Yeah.
So I then went to UJ. I signed up for a BA in design. And I started making my own money, like very quickly, you know. My brother in love, my sister's husband, who's my brother, who's Piwe, he worked at a macro store. And 2010, back then, like in-store announcers were quite big.
Yes.
And they were quite...
advertising the specials.
Yeah. You know? So he was like, dude, you got charisma, you know? You got energy. Do you want to join? Do you want to do this thing? Our guy is moving to Australia, you know? His name was Albert. So Albert moved to Australia and I took over his gig.
With your twang, of course.
With my twang. It just worked, you know? Yes. And that's why I'm like, dude, everything has a reason.
Yeah.
And it was awesome, dude. Like, I brought energy to macro. I did that for about 10 years. making $200 an hour, you know, and at that time it's like, yo, dude, you're making like $5,000 a month, just working weekends. I could still go to school. And yeah, so I did that for a while. Then I went to UJ, joined UJ FM, had a show on UJ FM. So my nickname is...
You'll come back.
Yeah.
Jeez, I'm just counting. Macro, band, bar, sort of advertising, announcing, radio.
Yeah.
Carry on.
Yeah. No, I'm a hustler, dude.
Bro.
My first job was in grade 9. I think I just made it to 16. I was about to be 16. And one of my classmates, Trevor Nelson, one day came to school with a damn scooter. Not a scooter, like a motorbike. And we were all like, what the hell, dude?
That's so cool.
Yeah, that's so cool. Like, how did you? And it's like, no, I've got a job. We're like, how? What do you mean? I was like, no, I work at Wimpy, dude, you know? And I was like, put me on, bro. And these are guardian angels, you know, I say in life. And so Trevor got me a job at Wimpy, or he spoke to the people at Wimpy. And I worked at Wimpy, dude. Used to be a waiter at Wimpy. Very young. And once there was more money at Spur, I moved there, you know. Because once you're in the game, you hear that, hey, bro, those Spur guys are making a crap ton.
Yeah.
Bro, I can carry like 6-7 plates. And it was at the Glen, because I'm from the south. So I remember that it was still split, you know. They had two sides to the Spur, and I'd like literally dash across the whole way into the next like area. And grade 8 and 9, I went to a school, Hoërskool President. I'm going to say the school. I played rugby most of my life, dude, since under 9.
Yeah.
So I got like a partial scholarship to go to Hoërskool President.
Yeah.
And jammed rugby for a bit, and then I went to NSA in grade 9. Because I just saw a guy get smashed, and he was on a wheelchair.
They must have been mad at you, like, you're leaving rugby and you're going for what?
No, I was
I'm going to go sing at
I
school?
was like, look at this guy. Do you want me, you know, and poor Jean, I think he's okay now. But it was quite traumatic, dude. And we were young, and we were like, hell no. I was personally like, hell no. Like, that's not the fate. I don't even like this stuff. Like, I like it, but like, I'm not about to, you know. And also back then, like, rugby's quite competitive, dude. You know, you got to have the genetics for it. The people you see now in the Springboks are 30 of the most genetically gifted.
I get you.
Men.
So their body protects them by itself.
No. They are built for that.
I hear you.
You know the term when someone says like, I'm built for this. Yeah. So I think it's part genetics. It's part training and kind of like the academy level in schools and kind of grooming, and also society, right? So it's tough to put like a kid who lives in the south of Joburg, right, with a kid who is from
Pretoria.
Pretoria's okay, but like Eastern Cape.
Yeah, a proper rugby school region.
And just also like the area, the climate.
Yeah.
Like, that's why like there's runners from Kenya that just thrive, and not because they just train hard. It's the genetics and where they're from and the atmosphere and the climate and whatever. They just got stronger lungs or whatever it may be, right? So I eventually saw that like, nah, my Zulu cheese boy, not even cheese boy, but like my Zulu Model T ass is not gonna...
Yeah, cut it.
Cut it.
Yeah.
So, end of grade 9, I moved to NSA. Was it 9? 9 or 10? I think 10. Yeah. But I left, then I went to NSA, did art. I could draw really well anyway. In fact, when I left NSA, I've told the story before, when I left Hoërskool President, my teacher called my mom after seeing one of my like science drawings, I think it was like a diagram of a frog being dissected or whatever. And she's like, this guy's insane with the pen. Like, you got to take him somewhere else.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
there's nothing we can do to nurture,
cultivate it and nurture this.
to nurture this.
Yeah.
And I think that's why my parents were like chilled about the decision. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, man, I've been working for a long time. So it was naturally for me making my own money, even if it's pocket money, or just my own cash to buy my own things. I used to rap. We used to record our own songs with syncs and funding those type of things, funding moving around. So by the time I got to the lab, am I jumping too far? Yeah, 2010, 2011. So, yeah, by the time I was out of school, I knew how to make money, my own money, or manage my own money in a way.
Yeah.
Whether it's the odd bartending tips and little salary you get or whatever, but like I was okay. And finally bought my own scooter.
I'm going to start pushing you.
Yeah.
Why do South African actors mostly die poor?
Well, it's partly. Look, I'm going to compare, so it doesn't feel like I'm biased. The South African entertainment industry is no different in appearance or in structure to any other in the world.
Yes.
And I want us to all arrive to our own answer to that. Say I'm in America, the biggest entertainment industry in the world. If I join a show, say Days of Our Lives, I sign a particular deal with that show that either says, look, my character, this thing is 7 seasons long, and we're signing you on for those 7 seasons. Which means today I can, with God willing, I'll have work for the next 7 years.
I can budget for 7 years.
You can budget for 7 years, but you're going to be with us. You're signed to us.
Sure.
Back then they used to call them exclusivity deals, where they were like, oh, now you can only exclusively work with CBS or HBSC or whatever, or HBO, because you're doing Days of Our Lives for this show. It was very competitive. So we want Lungelo with us, and he can't go anywhere else.
Yeah.
They fought that, and they cut the exclusivity stuff out. Then they're like, because why? They have unions. Actors have unions. They can gather, they can lobby for their own rights in this industry. And so do writers, so do directors, So eventually the actors are like, no, guys, Mandla N is calling me, but I'm working for Sbanban. Why can't I go explore this thing with Mandla N? And I'll be back. I'm not like I'm going anywhere. So they cut that out. There's also a clause in there that says, should CBS sell this thing to
Showmax in Africa,
we'll give you a portion. Not everything. We won't pay you like we paid you, but we'll give you a portion because now we've made more money, right, from wherever we're selling it to. In South Africa, we don't have that. In South Africa, basically saying we sign deals that talk about, that have phrases like in perpetuity, forever and ever, amen, in the universe. So not even in Mars. Can you
not Pluto.
Not even in Pluto, we laugh, but these things are realities.
Sure. And they're affecting us.
Yeah. So say, might as well say, hey, you're working for your call fee now. Now, we're in not such our funding structures, and I think economically we're not as strong as the USA in terms of the industry being a business in the sense of like being like a strong
commercially viable.
It is commercially viable.
Yeah.
But let me put it like this. Films and television in America is what agriculture and tourism is to us.
I get you.
Do you know those things where
Yeah.
you're like, we're making billions?
Yeah.
The government has to focus on this thing and fund it, and even private investors, find ways to say, no, this is it's
So lucrative.
It's lucrative.
Yeah.
It's strong. I do get a return. You know what I mean? It becomes a playground. Where with us, it's almost like, yeah, we're service providers for a certain market of society. The people that want to watch TV and be entertained. But I don't blame them, because in South Africa, there's so much going on that being entertained is not our first priority.
I hear you.
Do you hear what I'm saying?
We've got real problems.
We've got real problems.
Yeah.
Does that negate its value? I don't think so. Doesn't negate the value of art and entertainment in society. So then there's that. So then you get productions who are largely underfunded, under budgeted. And our producers try their best to make it work, which means you're probably going to get paid in proportion to what the budget is. Mm-hmm. I think there's a terrible stigma around that producers underpay people. I might put my head on the chopping block here, or that producers eat money and this and this. No, the ecosystem is not that strong. It's not that strong. There isn't that much money anyway. But what I do have reservations is that saying, okay, cool. If, say, you do sell this thing somewhere else, can you come back to me at least with a 10% of what I charged you the last time?
I hear you.
What
was my call rate when I was shooting the production?
Yeah. I mean, these are things that people like Hungani or Jack or Jack can speak about. These are the things that they fight for, they lobby for. But I also have, it's not an issue with Saga, but I'm a proud Saga member. I just think some of these things have to be communicated in a way that me and you can understand the issue. Mm-hmm. It does feel a little like the jargon, the wording. I'm speaking as someone
who's inside.
I'm inside.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, but what does that mean for me?
Yeah.
And I think that's what boils down to. What does it mean for me? And in South Africa, it can not turn out like that. You're saying it in English. Maybe you're losing a lot of people because you're saying it in English. Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I think if they work out their communication about their their ambitions and what they're doing, it'll land much better to the layman actor like myself, right? But what I do understand is that most of these people, most of our legends, they die broke because, number one, it's not that great. It's not that glamorous, The fees aren't that great. And secondly, we don't have royalties. We don't have royalties. And the reason that it becomes such a big thing, because you think of someone like Menzo Ngubane, who you've seen grew up
all your life.
Your whole life.
Yeah.
And when you hear something like that, you're like, that's tragic. That's messed up. But even at every job, you're just making enough for that job. Mam Nandi was right. It was like, save what, dude? Like, it's crazy that someone sees you on TV and the perception is immediately like, oh, they're making a crap ton of money. Mm-hmm. And I don't know what in the human perception makes you feel that because I am public, I am rich. That's weird. Mm-hmm. And I think, who's the homeless young man? The guy, Bonga.
Yes.
He's a great example of and I think because, I don't know, because he's homeless and you shoot photos of him on the thing, but I wouldn't be surprised if people think he's rich as well. because he's everywhere. And it's like, no, why? Acting is not glamorous, guys. You know, acting is not glamorous. The people that you do see who are maybe largely successful in the industry, I think have had great ways to manage that money or support. Maybe you have a partner that's not in the industry.
I hear
or
you, yeah.
Whatever way.
Yeah.
But if you're surviving purely on acting money, it's hard because you're not guaranteed your next job. Most contracts in our country, they go year by year, right? So even if you are on for 7 years, you're going to be renewed every year with increments that which are VAT and tax
I hear you.
related and
Yeah,
linked.
yeah,
You can't come and renegotiate based on where in America you can. Will Smith will come and say, hey, but I just did the Bad Boys joint. That thing hit 500 million, 700 million at the box office. You got to talk correct on this new one. He can go between Bad Boys 1 and 2 and say, yo, but I've done these other movies in between your 1 and 2, so you can't you can't increase my rate simply by inflation-linked rate. We have to consider how much I've brought to the table. How much more of a bigger Will Smith are you inheriting now in this new one? You know, even though it's the same franchise.
There's room for those types of negotiations.
There's rooms for those kind of negotiations. So it's tricky. Sorry, not to cut you off. It's hard now for Mam Nandi to say, but I'm everything that I've done. Consider that. Don't consider the size of the role. And whatever. Consider who I am coming onto the set. You know, maybe she's been working longer than the people putting the thing together.
Yeah.
You know, but then I can also empathize and say, but there is no money, mama. We don't have it.
So there's also this thing where we also feel like actors then take on roles that perhaps are not suitable for them because there's just not enough work, right? Conversely, I'm pushing you again. You went through a season where we felt like many of us, including myself, who's Bonko and he's peaking, right? It felt like a breakthrough pivot moment. Here you are, you're on this big telenovela, it's on a big streamer, and we're not seeing Bonko anymore. I want to go back to when we started our conversation, when you spoke about alignment and knowing who you are.
Yeah.
Do you have the strength of realigning your life when you feel like something's no longer serving you? In such moments where you were like, I'm leaving this in the peak of what everybody thinks is my peak.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm never dictated by what other people think. Never. Not that I couldn't care less. I love an audience. I went to a theater school. We engage with the audience. It's a negotiation with the audience. And you suspend their disbelief and we tell stories. There's no use telling a story to yourself. You know what I mean? You need an audience. But my art is not measured by how someone else feels. I really try to do what I think is cool, you know, and what I think people would appreciate, and just take it from there. Like there's also in this life now, the artist can quickly become the art, and I'm not the art. I'm Bonko. I'm the artist. You know, yeah. Artists were never supposed to be famous. I'm never supposed to be famous. I was never supposed to be famous. I'm a piece of shit. You know? Like, I'm not the cool guy. I've never been the cool guy.
Yeah.
I'm introspective. I'm poetic. I'm deep. I cry.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I'm not the archetype for...
celebrity.
not even celebrity, but for what is the archetype of
A famous
a
person.
famous person,
Yeah.
and how that person's supposed to engage, you know,
And how they dress and what they buy and where they
Dude.
go.
I repeat my socks sometimes, you know, like, and I'm always aligned to that because that's not my job, but that's being human, you know, and being human is my job. Eventually, when I get a job, is that every time someone books me to go pretend now, I'm gonna have to draw from
The human.
the actual reality of it, and if I haven't lived the actual reality of it,
There's nothing to draw from.
there's nothing to draw
Yeah,
from.
yeah.
So when I was doing 3 seasons of this thing with hardly no time for human, it becomes dangerous to say, whoa, like, at what point am I going to go back and be human again? And at the same time, now the human is starting to freak out, right? The human's starting to go crazy. And like, yo, dude, you know what I mean? For those people that know me will know that, like, will know when I'm acting, you know? They'll know when I'm acting. If you see someone like Mqele played by Bonko, you'll know that Bonko's acting, because that's not Bonko. You know, it surprises a lot of people who don't know me when they see the real me or get glimpses of the real me. They go, "Wow, Slunga simnandi kanje na." You know?
yeah.
And that's cool because that means I can still preserve Bonko. And my biggest goal in life is to preserve Bonko for my wife, for my daughter, for my parents, for everyone who's not
Part of this thing.
the work.
Yeah, yeah. With that said, there's a young actor right now who's struggling to either leave an environment that no longer serves them, or leave even a toxic environment, because some productions can be toxic and you want to leave because it's toxic, but they don't have the courage you have of leaving because they think that the industry will blacklist them. You evidently have not been blacklisted because you're still working and you're still showing us your excellence. How does a person navigate leaving things that no longer serve them while remaining bookable, for the lack of a better word?
Well, yeah, I mean, look, my departure was very amicable with the show, you know. Like my mental health was not okay, you know. It would have been terrible to have me,
Continue.
yeah, or around you,
Sure.
you know.
Yeah.
I think it was only fair, and especially of how much I had put out and how much I had done. And that's the funny thing, is that, like, that is weakness in some perspective. Like, I was weak. I was just too weak to continue. And that's why I'm like, dude, I'd rather be all of my flaws than completely someone I'm not. I remember back in drama school, one of the lecturers called me a lazy actor. This was not the first time I dropped out of something, you know. I dropped out of a play in varsity, very big play. Ditched them halfway through, you know. All for self-preservation. I had a very terrible flu, and they had a run for the press. And I was like, I'm going home. Like, I'm going home. It's the same like the rugby thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's the same. Like, I know I'm not what I do.
Whew. I do it. It's not me.
It's not me.
I just do it.
No.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now must I die for it?
That's interesting because a lot of people, their fame, their calling, something that they do, they've made it their identity.
Yeah. Oh no, I'd never do that. I would never do that.
Sure. It's dangerous?
It's very dangerous.
Yeah.
It's very dangerous, especially if you don't know where that thing is from and what is that.
Yeah.
Art is an energy.
Yeah.
Art is an energy. It's a space. It's a frequency of creation. But so is being a parent. It's a frequency of responsibility. So is being a husband. It's a frequency of loving the unconditional. So I'm moving. I'm not stagnant. I'm moving. Who I am, the spirit that I am, is capable of doing these things. So once you start, when I say these things, is that I'm more of, my spirit is a vehicle to experience all of these frequencies, as opposed to pitch a tent at the one frequency. Sometimes I feel like making art, sometimes I don't. And that's okay. I work hard, I work hard, but there should naturally be in 24 hours where there is no light. And not because we hate the sun, because you've had your time, bruh. Let the moon come,
We're nearing the end of our conversation, but I don't want to go there before we do this. A huge part of who you've shared with us has been glimpses of the family that you've built with your wife and your daughter. And the reason I want us to speak on that is because we live in an era where 68% of marriages end in the first 4 years. Let that sink in. In South Africa, more than 2/3 of marriages end in the first 4 years. Complete ending, complete divorce. And that means that the family structure is under siege. It's completely under attack, and people no longer value keeping families united, growing families, and having a nation where families are at the center of what grows us. Because a good family brings out good people, a good economy, and. No pressure on you and your family, but why is it important for you to live a life that demonstrates healthy family?
That's the last thing on my mind, dude. My goal is not to show anyone anything. I'm living my life. There's no truth but your truth. If you feel like you're not with the right person, don't be with that person. If you feel like you can fight a little harder for the things you want, fight a little harder. I think we're such in an information age, with so much information coming
in
from
different
so many
sources.
different sources.
Yeah.
Right? Don't get caught up in the statistics and in other people's experiences. There's no other truth but your truth. Do you love the woman you're with today? And we'll wake up tomorrow, and do you love her tomorrow? And just take it from there. But I'm starving my wife of the love I have inside, when every time she experiences me, part of my mind is in the anxiety of, hey, these things don't. Hey, now we're on year 3.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
No. Be grateful for what you have. Love the people you love right now the best way you can love them. I'm not perfect. I'm not the perfect husband every single day. I'm not the perfect human being every day. But I always try to bring myself to just say thank you. Thank you for the anger. Thank you for showing me I've got another side to me. Thank you for showing me I'm not just this one thing. I never wanted to be an actor until a certain point in my life. And now I'm like, wow. So, but now I can't, you can't negate everything that brought you here.
Sure.
So
Even the macro.
Imagine how unrelated that can seemingly appear.
Yeah.
So I just say, man, if you're in love, show it. If you're in love, show it. Say it. Express it. If things are not okay, talk about it. Talk about it. And if you can't fix things, it's okay. There's more to life. There's more to life. I do also think that there can be some times in marriages where people do grow apart, or I don't know. I haven't experienced it. My parents are both married still. So in my own growing up experience, I don't know what that looks like. I don't know what it means to fight until we leave. You know? So that statistic for me doesn't, it's all theory. I've never seen it practically happen. What I do know is people that can be together for 45 years, 50 years, up to 50, I mean, my parents, I think they're about to hit 47, 48 years together. You know, before I was born, they were married. You know? So you're like, then I feel okay.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, it's all okay. It's okay. It's okay. Like, don't arrest yourself to a past, and don't give all your attention to a future. Be where you are. Love the people you're around. Share a smile with the people right now. If you've got $10, more than you'd normally give a car guy, there's probably a reason. He probably needed that. He's probably going to bless you, you know. And nothing is more beautiful than the prayer in the heart, you know. If you have the food and someone needs it, you had plans, just do what needs to be done right now, and the rest will unfold itself as it should. I think one of my biggest mantras is that the greatest gift God has given us is the illusion of control. But once you realize that control is only an illusion, we're all here for a ride. We're all this conscious being experiencing everything, you know, with itself, to itself, in every shape, in every color. Then you realize, man, the point is not to get to the end of the line intact. That's not the point. I'm not saying go be reckless and ruin your life, but the point of life is not to end it safely. It's to end it saying, whew, that was crazy. That was a life. That was a life. Something memorable, you know, stories, you know. Till this day, I'm just like, the stories I have, you know, either with my wife or it's like, if that's a nice story.
Yeah.
That's a nice story. And that's God's story for me. He's showing me that I'm so colorful, you know. And I know it does sometimes gets very dire and hectic. And something like divorce is hectic. But just allow the change to happen. There's probably a payoff somewhere.
A pivot to something else.
Angithi the divorce. Angithi divorce. What I'm saying is love, dude. Yeah.
Last but not least, what's that one thing in life you know for sure that you're absolutely certain of?
That I'll be okay. That I'll be okay.
You're at peace. That's what I've gotten throughout this whole conversation.
I'm trying, bro.
Like, whatever may come, you're like, okay, cool.
Yeah, not freely. I've got great support around me.
Yeah.
And I put in the practice. And it does take an efforted shift in mind and perspective to arrive there. But I've got my beautiful wife, I've got my beautiful daughter, we both have our parents, we've got our families, you know, we're in a position to help people when we can. The other day I was teaching at Actor Spaces, you know, the acting school, Ayanda's acting school. And I was like, this was me. This was me. And now, you know, and like, there is a cycle of life. And I was okay. The fact that I'm here means anyone who's feeling anxious in the moment, if you just let that pass, you'll be okay. And then, yeah, I am at peace. It's not all peaceful, but at least I am. I feel like in my heart, I'm okay. Scary. I'm not gonna say it's nice. It's not. It's not. It's not. It's not fun.
Yeah.
But it's peaceful.
You're probably watching this because when you look at Bonko, you see a person who's a celebrity, you see a person who's famous, who's revered for what they do. You're watching this because you were expecting perhaps out of him a person who will speak boldly of how big and grand they are, but instead they came with a sense of humility, understanding the ride that life brings, understanding the different phases that it brings. And I hope what you got from it is that don't seek to be famous, but rather seek to just be who you are, being true to yourself, and then the rest will unfold itself. I hope you enjoyed the episode. I hope you continue just being yourself and understanding your own purpose. More than anything, just don't stop being who you are. My name is Lungelo KM, and the show is Engineer Your Life. I'll see you guys on the next episode. Thank you, brother.
Thank you, bro.
Kholwa emandleni onawo.
Oh my, we're finally doing this. What does EYL Africa represent? It's about standing in your power. It's about, in isiZulu, it's Kholwa emandleni onawo, which is our tagline. You will see it on the back of my t-shirts. It's about believing in the power that you have, believing in the power that your God, your guides have invested in you. Shop our socks, shop our t-shirt, and yeah, just keep believing in yourself. EYL Africa.
Now available on EYLshop.Africa.